Week 16, Frankie and I are going to get you guys what you need to know. We're going to go through the full slate of games for this week, and we're going to get you some news and notes. Let's get you in your Super Bowl. Let's go! All right. Welcome to the show. This is the Frankly Fantasy Football Podcast. We are your hosts, Frankie and Johnny. Welcome in, brother. Week 16. For most of everybody out there, it's the second round of the playoffs. A lot of people this week, this is going to get them in their Super Bowl. Frankie, what's happening, brother?
Oh, man, I'll tell you what. After this past week, John, there was quite a bit of craziness. You know, I was in 3 leagues. And I put up 161 points in one league and still lost. Kudos to Joey Demery. And then in our Superflex league, to where I was high point man, I lost putting up 150, man. It is just brutal. So I'm in though, in one league, going to the semis, ready to rock and roll in a 14-team league.
Yeah, I know. That same 14-team league where I was the number 1 seed. Guess who Johnny played on Thursday Night Football?
Oh, who's that?
Kyle fucking Pitts, that's who. Oh, I talk about Pity City, man. I have been having a pity party ever since, dude. 47 points Kyle Pitts dropped on me, and the worst part is I had to change my lineup. We always talk about it. If you get down big on Thursday night, you got to put your boom bust guys in and hope for booms.
You got to.
I put him in. It didn't really work out for me, and this is the worst part of it all, man. The worst part of it all was if I had started Bo Nix, my champion, okay? Bo Nix, my champion, I started Joe Burrow instead.
Which you should.
I had a super stack. There's no kickers defenses in this league. It's all 5 flexes after you have 1 running back and 1 receiver. I have Jamar Chase. And I had Gesicki. I had the super stack. I had to start Burrow against
Baltimore.
Baltimore, the 31st worst defense in the league.
At home.
And they just shit the bed. I put all of my marbles on Joey B and Chase. And had I started Bo Nix with 38 points, I would have won by 5 points, man. I'm so upset. And the worst part is it's my champion and I didn't play him. Guys, it happens to us all, man. Yep. It happens to us all. It's any given Sunday, guys.
It really is.
It really is, man. Well, let's get into this week, Frankie. We got a lot to talk about here, man. All right, what we're going to do, guys, we're going to run through the whole slate of games, and I'm going to tee it up here, give you the spread, give you the line, the over-under. Frankie's going to run in. We're not going to talk about the obvious guys. You know who you're starting with the studs. We're going to talk about some of your flex guys, give you a little flex appeal. We're going to talk about some guys after the injuries that you may want to plug in. We're talking about guys that are going to help you get to your Super Bowl. That's all that matters right now. But first, we're going to get into some news, baby.
News and notes.
All right, let's get into the news here. Bring out the bell, Frank. Week 15 bell, man. Yeah, we got Patty Mahomes, your quarterback 2 on the season, is out for the rest of the season. It is confirmed with a torn ACL. Gardner Minshew came in as relief. Now we got Gardner Minshew coming in here. By the way, he's still dirtbag Frankie. He still has the long hair. He still has the mustache.
Still has the stash.
Yeah. He's still Frankie that steals carburetors. I love it, man. So Gardner Minshew starting at quarterback with the Titans and Broncos next. So what are we looking at here, Frank, as far as Gardner Minshew is concerned?
Guys, it's going to be a tough sled. And what I mean by that is, yes, Titans are a good option for this particular week, though. Are you really going to trust Gardner Minshew to get you over the hump in the semis? I personally wouldn't. I think that there could be a few other options out there. But then the Broncos in your Super Bowl, guys, disgusting. That is no bueno by any means. Also, this is going to affect, guys, Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy, the rushing attack. This is going to change the entirety of this offensive scheme. Maybe we see a bump from Travis Kelce. Maybe we actually see a regression. It's going to be very difficult to see how this pans out. So for me, man, I'm actually looking away from Gardner Minshew, looking to other options. And one other call out here. So this is the first time, how wild is this, since 1998 that we will not see a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, or Patrick Mahomes in the NFL playoffs since 98. Absolutely wild.
That's almost 20 years, man. That's wild.
Isn't that crazy?
That is wild, yeah. All right, and we'll talk about the Chiefs here matchup with the Titans later on here. Let's go to Basil Tootin, running back for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's going to be out most likely the rest of the fantasy season. He's having finger surgery. Now, Travis Etienne, Frankie, 3 tutties last week,
Looked
man.
great.
Looked great. Now, he's got tough schedules coming up. He's at Denver and then at Indy. But I think Travis Etienne, even with the volume he's going to get without Basil Tootin and his pass-catching ability out of the backfield,
Awesome.
Are you still starting Travis Etienne in a flex or an RB2 situation at Denver this week?
Yes. Yes, I am, guys, because he's too good. He's been too productive not to start. He is a true anchor for this particular offense. If they can get him going, then it opens up the passing game, and Jacoby Myers is certainly added to that as well. But absolutely, I know it's tough sledding, but if you can get double digits out of Etienne, which I think is still possible, especially due to that receiving back, I think that there's a lot of potential for him to be good for your team this week.
Tough going in the New Orleans Saints backfield here, man. They just can't stay healthy. You've got Alvin Kamara still out, not really any status for him coming up. You'll have to watch the practice later in the week, but I don't expect Alvin Kamara to be playing. Devin Neal, the backup, left the game with a hamstring injury. Audric Estime is the next man up. Now, they've got favorable schedules here, Frank, with the Jets and the Titans. What are you going to do moving forward? Let's say Devin Neal's not in. Is Audric Estime a guy you can consider against the Jets this week and Titans in your Super Bowl?
Certainly. Guys, yes, this is one of those diamond in the rough that could be something. Now, again, only if Kamara's out and Devin Neal's out does Audric Estime become something. Remember, this was a guy that the Denver Broncos drafted, and then there was just too many cooks in the kitchen, and then they went with R.J. Harvey, and then they did away with Javonte Williams. They changed the entire landscape. So, yeah, man, this dude has some oomph to him, and we saw that when he played for Notre Dame. And then when you look at what he did, John, yeah, on the ground, he only had 3 rushes for 11 yards, but he had 3 targets, 3 receptions for 39 yards this past week. So, yes, he could be interesting for especially Week 16.
Okay. Bam Knight, Zonovan Knight, running back for the Arizona Cardinals, left the game. It was a really bad ankle injury. He's not coming back here, guys.
No.
So now in this backfield, Frank, we've got to talk about another just unlucky backfield here. That's all year long, man, with the Cardinals. Michael Carter, Amari DiMercato. Next 2 games, they've got the Falcons this week and they've got the Bengals next week. What about these 2 guys? Is this somebody you should have on your roster?
Yes, in deep leagues. And I'm saying that because both of those 2 are going to take away from the other, right? It's not the same as Devin Neal with that of Audric Estime, meaning if Devin Neal's out, then Audric Estime is going to be the guy. But like, we're going to see Michael Carter get a little bit of his, and then we saw DiMercato be able to break a few earlier in the year. So for me, man, I think if you're beaten and battered and there's a ton of injuries and you're in a deep league, you may be able to look to Michael Carter. Again, last week, guys, he had 14 rushes, 56 yards and on the ground, but then he also had 4 targets, 4 receptions, and 38 yards receiving. Guys, there was some value there. In half PPR, he was 13.4 fantasy points. So there is some opportunity, though I'm a little bit hesitant with those 2 guys.
I think they both need to be rostered because
Yes.
if you do make it to your Super Bowl, you may have injuries this week. You're not sure what's going to happen yet. To have these guys on your bench playing the Bengals, you could plug them in as an RB2 for sure.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Devontae Adams looked like a bad one here. Left the game with a hamstring, non-contact, just pulled up during a route. Looked pretty bad. The Rams have already clinched the playoffs. So, Frankie, are they going to hold this guy out the rest of the, fantasy playoffs at least? I think so. I think so. Now, tight end Kobe Parkinson. Now, this guy's been sneaky too. We haven't really talked about him. He should be owned, and I think he should be started, man, especially if Adams is out. 6 touchdowns over the past 6 games. They're at Seattle this Thursday. We're going to talk about that matchup, man. And then at Atlanta next week. So keep that in mind, guys. All right, Luther Burden and Rome Odunze with the Chicago Bears. Both receivers are questionable for Saturday's game against the Packers here. You're just going to have to watch practice. I'm sure Frankie will give you some updates on Fridays with Frankie here this week. Christian Watson, wide receiver for the Green Bay Packers, questionable with a chest injury. Plays on Saturday at Chicago. Status is likely up in the air for week 16 against the Bears. Listen, he went off against the Bears.
Totally.
4 catches, 89 yards, 2 touchdowns. A couple of weeks ago, he played the Bears and did this. So, guys, if he does play, I think he's a great start against the Bears here. What do you think, Frank?
I agree. And if he doesn't play, guys, guess what? We're seeing Jayden Reed getting involved. Then also look to Dontavian Wicks and or Matthew Golden. One of these other guys are going to pop, right? We've seen Christian Watson be the guy that's taken the top off. If he cannot go, one of those other guys are going to thrive. Trust me when I say that.
All right, Drake London, wide receiver for the Falcons. We thought he was going to be held out here. Now he may be coming back, and the whole reason is because the Falcons now are in the hunt for the playoffs. So they need Drake London back badly.
Big time.
He could return this week to face the Cardinals, which is a smash matchup
Slam
for
dunk.
him. Yeah. So the Falcons are hopeful to get him on the practice field. You're going to have to watch. I know Frankie will have some information for you on Fridays with Frankie on this guy. Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver for the Cardinals, expected back this year, but it doesn't look good for week 16, Frankie. I just don't see him being out there this week. Monitor practice reports you might get a late Marvin Harrison Jr. active on Sunday morning. Also, Michael Wilson, smash start this week if Marv does not play. A couple of guys here are going to have to watch status on. We don't really have any answers yet. Quentin Johnston, wide receiver for the Chargers. He's questionable for week 16. T. Higgins, watch the practice report, see if he clears concussion protocol. No word as of yet. Garrett Wilson, still have not opened his 21-day practice window from IR. I just don't see them bringing him back here, Frank. What do you think?
I agree. There's no need for them to bring him back. He could just re-injure himself, and it's a miserable offseason. I think you shut him down, see what you got out of these younger cats with Adonai Mitchell and John Mechie, and you move on.
Agreed. Football season is in full swing, and Underdog is the best place to get in and all the action. Playing Underdog, guys, it's so easy. Just pick whether your favorite players are going to go higher or lower on stats like rushing yards, receptions, touchdowns, and so much more. Frankie, what do we got for everybody this week in their pick'ems?
Guys, we're making a comeback this week. Burrow let us down, but I'm not going to let you down for week 16. Let's go. This week on Underdog, I'm looking at two particular games, two particular players. The first is Colby Parkinson. We've been talking a lot about him. We're going to go higher than 24.5 receiving yards Thursday night against Seattle. And then we're going to pair that with good old Mike Evans. Big Mike back into the saddle. We're going to go higher than 39.5 receiving yards this week.
Download the app today and use the promo code FRANKLY to score $75 in bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code FRANKLY. Underdog. Make picks. Win money. Must be 18 plus, 19 plus in Alabama, Nebraska, 19 plus in Colorado for some games, 21 plus in Arizona, Massachusetts, and Virginia. Present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/playing-get-terms_DFS_.html for details. Offer not valid in Maryland, Michigan, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. In New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY to 467-369. All right, Frankie, let's go through the whole slate of games here, man. Just real quick, couple minutes on each game here. We're talking about starts and sits. And again, we're not talking about your obvious guys. We're talking about your flex appeal guys. We're talking about maybe some tight ends or some quarterbacks that aren't super obvious, guys that are going to help you get to your Super Bowl this week. So, Frankie, let's roll here, baby.
Let's do it.
All right, Thursday game this week, guys. It is starting us off with a great one, man. Woo! We've got the Rams at the Seahawks. The two best teams in the NFC squaring off against each other here on Thursday Night Football. Gotta love that. Rams are favored by 1.5 on the road. I like that. 44.5 point over under. All right, Frank, what are we doing in this game, man? I like everybody.
Yeah. I mean, as crazy as it sounds, both have excellent defenses, but both have even better offenses. So, guys, I agree. John, you're firing up everybody. Again, we're not talking about the Pukas or the Staffords. Of course, you're firing them up. But some ancillary pieces that may be something to look at. I'm going to start with the Rams, John. First and foremost, he might be the talk of the show for this particular item. It's Colby Parkinson. Yeah. Guys, you need to seriously consider starting this guy. And I get it. There's a lot of tight ends that are balling out. You look at Darren Waller. You look at some of these other guys that are coming up, Theo Johnson, etc. But for me, man, Colby Parkinson has been dominant. And so much so that in the last 3 weeks alone, he's had 17 targets. And then in addition to that, he's had 12 receptions, and he's also had 3 touchdowns in the last 3 weeks alone, guys. So for me, Colby Parkinson is absolutely somebody you can confidently roll out there, especially if you are in need of a tight end this week.
Frankie, talk to me about the Seahawks running backs. How do you feel about starting these guys? I mean, there's been injuries. There's been some reasons why you might have to start them, but Is this a really good matchup for these guys?
I'll be completely honest with you. I'm terrified. I'm terrified if you own the Seattle Seahawks running backs. I would be very, very nervous because, guys, this is not a good matchup for a Seattle Seahawk running back. Number one. Number two, they're cannibalizing each other. Like, it's not a 1-2 punch is what we're seeing. Kenneth Walker has been severely down in his play. I mean, if you look at over the last 3 weeks, John, he hasn't eclipsed double-digit points in FPPR, and let alone he's only eclipsed in the last 3 weeks over 10 rushes one time. And it was 2.5 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago at this point. And to layer on that, he's only been over 50 yards rushing once in the last 3 weeks. So when you're going up against a Rams defense that's looking to completely solidify the division, that's then looking to take the number 1 overall seed, man, I would be very, very nervous to start Kenneth Walker and or that of Zach Charbonnet this week.
Yeah, I mean, the Colts kept both of those guys under 5 points.
Yeah.
And
yes.
and the Rams certainly have a better rush defense than the Colts. So,
big time.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. I think if you had to choose between the two and you had to start somebody in an RB2 spot, I think it's Charbonnet because he's likely to get the goal line carries. Yeah. So I think that's where the value is going to be here, guys.
One other guy that I wanted to hit on for the Seattle Seahawks, if you need a boom play, this is a boom bust. I'm going to be crystal clear. We're starting to see Rashee Shaheed step into a zone that's like, okay, you're getting 5 targets, you're getting 4 targets, and you're getting over 60 yards receiving in the last 2 weeks. So guys, be thinking about something along those lines. Again, it is a divisional matchup. It is going to be a ton of emotions here. But more importantly, if Seattle is down, right, they're going to need to throw the ball. Obviously, they're looking at JSN, but also they may look to continue riding Rashee Shaheed down the field. So he's purely boom bust. Check him out, though, if you need a boom play.
All right. I like that, man. Let's get to Saturday. We got 2 Saturday games this week, Frankie. Let's go. All right. We got a little Christmas party on Saturday, so I love having the games on. It's going to be fun. All right, Saturday, we've got Eagles at Commanders. Eagles are favored by 6, and it's a 45.5 point over-under. Frankie, give me some options here.
I mean, guys, again, we're not talking about the normal guys. For the Eagles, it really is just the normal guys. There's really nobody outside of the realm. If you want to throw in Dallas Goedert as not normal, I would say he's normal. You're starting Goddard and everybody else, okay? For the Commanders, though, this is where it gets interesting because this is not a great matchup for any of their running backs. So this is really, really tough when you look at Chris Rodriguez or JCM or Nichols, who had a bad fumble. Like, this is not great for any of those guys. Jaden Daniels is also shut down for the year. So then what does this look like then for the rest of the folks? Well, I'm not starting Ben Sinnott, who's taking over for that of Zach Ertz. It's not a great matchup there. And honestly, man, outside of Terry McLaurin, I'm a little bit nervous even for Deebo Samuel here. The Eagles' defense is really good. Their corners are really good. And also their safeties over top are really good. So for me, Mariota's going to have to play out of his mind in order for this to even be something. So it's looking like this. I'm firing up as much as I can on the Eagles, and I'm sitting as much as I can on that of the Commanders.
I agree. Mariota is going to be a super flex start, QB2.
Yep.
And Terry McLaurin, I think, is the only one you can feel good about.
Yep.
Yeah, agreed, man. All right, second game here on Saturday, a really good one. NFC North Showdown. Love this. Packers at Bears. Let's get cold this weekend at the Bears in Chicago. Let's do it. Packers are favored in Chicago by 1.5 points, 46.5 point over under. Frankie, what are we doing with this game?
This is super interesting. I'm going to start with the Packers. Okay, so let's assume Christian Watson is out. We talked about Jayden Reed. John, you have been talking about get Jayden Reed on your roster, guys. He's been in IR. He's slowly coming around. Here's what's happened. The first week he came back, week 14 against Chicago. Okay, this was at home against Chicago. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 31 yards. Okay, that's easing him in. This past week against a really good Denver defense, 6 targets, 5 receptions, 55 yards. What I'm saying is he's getting that engine rolling. Jordan Love's starting to feel his guy coming back. So for me, fire up Jayden Reed this week and fire up either or of Dontavian Wicks or Matthew Golden. Again, somebody is going to pop against this Bears defense. You're obviously firing up Josh Jacobs as well. Don't need to talk about that. Now, looking at it from the Bears lens, this is where shit gets really wild. Because I am actually saying start Caleb Williams. I would have never said that. But here's the deal. Caleb Williams torched the Browns defense, which he should not have, if I'm being honest. And then secondly, he also torched that of the Packers defense 2 weeks ago. And then you layer on Packers losing who? Micah Parsons. Guys, Micah Parsons is not just a defensive end. He's a disruptor. He's a leader. And losing that on this Packers team in a divisional game at home, man, I got goosebumps even talking about it. This is a legacy game for Caleb Williams. I'm saying it is a tough start, but you can start Caleb Williams this week. Now let's look at the receivers here for Caleb Williams. Guys, DJ Moore's the start. It's wild to say that, but he is. Rome Odunze's super banged up. Luther Burden is banged up as well. DJ Moore's really coming on strong. DJ Moore's the start from the receiver end. And Colston Loveland needs to be the tight end that you start this week for the Bears. And even if you can't, even if he's on as a streamer, pick his ass up. He may be the start of the week, knowing that this is a divisional game, knowing that the other receivers are banged up. There's a lot of synergy happening with Caleb Williams and him right now.
All right, talk to me about the Bears running backs, though. It feels like every week we're shifting from the receivers to the running backs and back and forth. You know, DeAndre Swift had a good game last week.
He did. Very good.
Monangai did not fall in the end zone, so therefore he did not have a good week. How are you approaching this backfield, trying to get yourself into the Super Bowl?
I mean, for me, guys, I think it's going to be DeAndre Swift. I think that that's the guy I'm going to be trusting. Now, let's just say you have Kyle Monangai, and you're like, okay, well, what do I do with him? Am I looking at him from a flex piece? I'm in a deep league. This is tough because if you're in a super deep league in half PPR, you could make the argument that, yes, you're going to start him. However, you're completely limiting yourself then on the receiving upside. So for me, if I'm comparing the two, I'm going to lean Swift this week. However, if you have Monangai, you may need to start him, but it's not a great start. Guys, we talked about, let me say it like this. I would rather play Colston Loveland in my flex than Kyle Monangai this week.
Agreed. All right, let's get to the Sunday slate here, man. With first game we've got is the Bills at the Browns. Woohoo! Oh, man. The Bills are favored by 10, of course.
Shocker.
Yeah, shocker. Over under a 42.5, so not a ton of scoring here, man. What are we doing with this Bills-Browns game?
All right, I'm going to start with the Browns. This is going to be very easy. There's two guys that you're going to be firing up. It's Harold Fannin Jr. and it is Quinshon Judkins. Quinshon Judkins has a really good opportunity this week to capitalize on a front that's really given up quite a bit of rushing yards. Look at what Trevion Henderson did. You don't think Quinshon's looking at that as his old teammate for Ohio State saying, hey, man, you can bust off 2 50-yard touchdowns. I'm going to bust off 2 50-yard touchdowns. Yeah. So I really like Quinshon this week and Harold Fannin. Now, for the Bills, this is where it gets interesting, man. I mean, there's really only, you're firing up Kincaid. I think you can also look to potentially Dawson Knox as well. If you need a streaming option from tight end, I'm not saying this is gold, but what I'm saying is he's been targeting him quite a bit in the red zone as of late. And so there's some things happening. Dawson Knox just had a kid. Josh Allen just announced that he's having a baby. There's something going on with the dad synergy there. So for me, man, I know it doesn't make sense, but there's something there. I would be okay to start Dawson Knox.
Well, they're playing a lot of 12 and 13 personnel.
Yeah,
and I think some of that is because they're trying to get James Cook going with extra blockers, but also I think it's because they don't trust their receivers.
Keon Coleman sucks right now. He's been real down.
If Keon Coleman was an alpha, they wouldn't have to have 2 tight ends on the field so much. Yeah. So I agree, man. I think you definitely start Kincaid, and I think you can stream Knox. Absolutely, man. Yeah. If you're starting Quinshon, you're really going to want to get those points in early. You're going to have to hope first half, for him to bust some out because, man, it could be really rough in the second half. They may not be able to run the ball at all.
Good point.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. Next game, we've got the Chargers at the Cowboys. Cowboys are favored by 1.5. That surprises me. Yeah. What is this a trap game for Vegas? That's what I'm wondering here. 49.5 point over under. So they're looking at a lot of scoring here, man. What are we doing here in Dallas?
All right, guys. So looking at the Chargers first, you're firing up Amari and Hampton, and you may even be able to consider Kamani Vidal. I wouldn't, but if you're, depending on what your situation looks like, you certainly could in a deep league. Now, from the receiver standpoint, this is where it gets really difficult. Because if Quentin Johnston is in, that's going to move Keenan Allen down a bit and also move Laddie down a bit. If Quentin Johnston's out, then it actually moves them up a tad, but it also moves up Oronde Gadsden. So for me, man, we're gonna have to see what happens with Quentin Johnston. But again, I'm probably only looking at Laddie to make it really safe for me because I've had Keenan Allen all year, guys, and he's really plateauing in a half PPR at about 5-6 points. I need a little bit more from that standpoint. So I'm really looking at Ladd and then the running backs and Herbert as well. Other than that, I'm setting it to the side. Now, for the Cowboys, this is where it gets interesting because the Chargers defense is excellent. So you would be thinking, well, it's a shoo-in for Pickens. I don't know. I don't know if it is because I'm way more wanting to start CeeDee Lamb than actually starting that of George Pickens for this particular week. Guys, it's just something that you're feeling. It's something that we've seen over the last 3 weeks with Pickens. I mean, I actually got a start-sit question literally this morning, John, and it was, would you rather start Nico Collins or George Pickens this coming week? Guys, for me, it's easy. It's Nico Collins. Because I just see the trajectory of what's happening with Nico and the downfall that's happening with George Pickens. So for me, you're more than likely going to start him. I would just be a little bit cautious of that, but it's going to be, it should be an interesting game to say the least.
It's really tough to sit the wide receiver 4 on the season right now, man. But you're right. I mean, if you look at the past 2 weeks, 5 for 37, 3 for 33, that's not going to get you to your Super Bowl.
No.
So, I think if you're in a 12-man league, I don't think you have much of an option.
You gotta fire him up.
You're going to be starting him. But if you're in an 8-10-man league,
10-man, yeah.
Look for some other options, some guys with some better matchups here, which we'll get to. All right, let's keep moving on here, Frank. Let's get to the Chiefs. The Patrick Mahomes-less Chiefs at the Titans. Chiefs are still favored by 3.5 on the road, 37.5-point over-under. Wow. Big difference the over-under makes without Patrick Mahomes, eh? Yeah, what are we doing in this game, man?
Guys, so this one's tough because, again, without Patrick Mahomes, we're looking at Gardner Minshew as the starter. So you're going to have to change all expectations from a receiver standpoint. Again, you're of course firing up Rashee Rice, etc. You're firing up Travis Kelce because you have to. I'm not firing up Xavier Worthy. He needs to sit until we see further notice. Same thing with Hollywood Brown. Sitting those guys. From a running back perspective, it gets even messier.
It's scary.
It's scary, man. We're seeing Pacheco, like it was Kareem Hunt absolutely dominating, and then Pacheco taking a back seat. Now it's the opposite to where we're seeing Pacheco getting going, and Kareem Hunt, for example, 6 rushes for 12 yards. 6 rushes for 12 yards against the Chargers last week. So for me, I'm leaning, if you have to pick one, I'm leaning Pacheco. And I think that they're going to lean on this rushing attack versus the Titans because, it's Minshew at the helm. But again, it's really, really tough to say. We got to kind of tread water at this point in time, man.
But even Pacheco was 11 for 21.
11 for 21. Not
with
good.
With 0
Terrible.
targets.
Terrible.
So that's what I'm saying. I mean, you would think with a backup quarterback playing a shit defense like they are, they should be able to establish the run and should need to establish the run, take the pressure off of Minshew a bit. But that may happen, but I just don't know. I mean, it could be 8 rushes for Hunt, and it could be, another 10 to 12 for Pacheco. They haven't produced. They've just been really bad. So I would stay away from it, guys, as much as possible. You may get a bullshit Kareem Hunt goal line touchdown, but I don't know that he's the goal line back anymore. Pacheco has that skill set. So, if they're each going to be splitting 20 carries overall, I don't really want a piece of either of them, man.
Nope.
Yeah,
I agree.
I'm with you.
And John, with the Titans, I'm going to make it real easy. I'm not starting anybody. I mean, you could make an argument. You could make an argument for Tajay Spears and Tony Pollard and all this stuff. Set it to the side, guys. I just am not willing to start either of those guys to get into the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I mean, come on. You're not starting Tajay Spears at your RB2.
No way.
And you're in the second round of the playoffs.
Correct.
Okay? You got there a different way, guys.
Yeah.
So let's move on. All right, we got Bengals at Dolphins here. The Dolphins are favored at home by 1.5. 50.5-point over-under. All right, first of all, you know what? Fuck you, Vegas, because guess who had a 52.5-point over-under last week? The Bengals and the Ravens, and the Bengals were shit.
Terrible.
What do we do? Are you trusting? First of all, are you trusting? Obviously you're going to start Jamar Chase. Of course. Another double-digit targets, and he went absolutely apeshit. But are you starting Joe Burrow?
Yes.
Oh,
I am willing to be in the flames with Joey B this week.
Guys, 3.5 points last week, Frank. He killed me. He killed me.
It was arguably his worst game of his entire career, including college. Okay, like that's how bad this dude was last week. But listen, this is a massive opportunity for a bounce back. You're playing in warm weather. You have the pep talk from Jamar Chase when he had come out and said this is the first time in his career that he actually needed to be there for Joe Burrow and get his mental state right. And so I think with T. Higgins coming back, I think with Joe Burrow, getting his shit straight, you're playing against a Dolphins defense that really got torched by the Pittsburgh Steelers and others over the last few weeks. For me, man, I am willing to stay in the flames with Joe Burrow. And I think it's Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Chase Brown, set the rest to the side.
Got it. All right, talk about the Dolphins a little bit. What are we doing here?
I mean, this is pretty easy as well. I think it's just a normal slate, which means Devon Achane, Waddle. I think you can fire up Tua. This is what's interesting. I think that if you have the ability to start Tua in warm weather against the 32nd overall defense in the NFL, this is the game that you have circled. Now, again, maybe you had Patrick Mahomes and you're looking for that streaming option. I like Tua a lot. Or maybe it's Jacoby Brissett. We'll talk about that here in a second. But those are two guys that I really like. And the last call out, if he is not on your team, get him on your team. It's Darren Waller.
The Walrus.
What we're seeing, the Walrus. John, you called it. We called it. We've been saying it for the last 4 weeks. This is a guy that could aid in winning you your fantasy league. And what did he do last week or this past week, man? He had 5-6 receptions, 70+ yards, and 2 tuds. That's a guy I want on my team.
We called it too. We said Darren Waller's that sneaky guy who will have multiple touchdowns in your playoffs and absolutely screw you. I agree with that, man. The only way I am personally, your balls are way bigger than mine, dude. The only way I'm starting Tua is if I have either Waddle or Achane on my roster. That's the only way, just to grab that stack and try to double up the points. So keep that in mind too, guys. All right, let's move on here, Frank. We've got the Jets at the Saints. I don't see anybody but the fans of those two teams turning into this game here this weekend. All right, we've got the Saints favored at home by 4.5 points. Some sneaky fantasy value, though, coming about on the Saints team. Over under 40.5. Talk about it.
I mean, guys, if you also need another quarterback, there's Tyler Shugg that's circled there. It's ridiculous. I know. Trust me.
That makes my butthole pucker just a little bit.
It's so gross to even say that you're trusting a rookie on a Saints team with nothing around him. But here's the deal. Over the last 3 weeks alone, man, he's actually performed pretty well. He hasn't had less than 15 points in fantasy football. So that's really solid. When we look at Joe Burrow with a 3-point game, makes you want to puke. But so there's some value there. We talked about Devin Neal. If he's able to go, totally some value there. And certainly Juwan Johnson, guys. Outside of Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson is going to be the guy that's going to help.
I mean, we look at Chris Olave, you've got to fire his ass up. I know
he's guaranteed.
It's not a guy we've been talking about a lot, but he's the wide receiver 8 on the season right now, man.
Quietly.
Very quietly, but he had 9 targets last week, 6 for 85 and a touchdown. They've got the Jets this week, and they're at Tennessee next week.
Dream schedule.
Dream matchups here for Olave, so fire that dude up. Let's go. All right, let's get to the next game here. Vikings at Giants. The Vikings are favored on the road by 2.5 points. Over under a 44.5. All right, we've seen some life now out of J.J. McCarthy, man, but are you trusting him at this point, though, at the Giants?
I wouldn't be trusting him. I would be looking at, honestly, Tyler Shugg potentially over that of J.J. McCarthy. It's just, we've seen the floor. We have seen the floor of J.J. And then in addition, man, when we look at some of the other guys, I'm going to fire up Aaron Jones here. If Aaron Jones and you have the availability, he's a guy that I've circled for this particular matchup. Certainly you're going to look at Addison and J.J., et cetera. But for the Vikings, Aaron Jones could be very interesting. And then from the Giants, guys, it's pretty easy. I mean, Jackson Dart actually has standalone value. I mean, we talk about it, whether you want to take a risk in a QB1 or a quarterback 1 situation. I don't know if I would, but in Superflex, I love it. I think Jackson Dart can certainly provide value there. But also, man, you're firing up Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, he's been excellent. I would assume that's probably a given at this point, but a lot of people don't believe in it because of the name value. I believe in it. I think Wan'Dale Robinson is certainly a guy that you can fire up in a flex. And then Theo Johnson if you really need a tight end.
All right, real quick. You kind of skipped over a guy I think we need to talk about 1 second. Jordan Addison.
Okay.
You said you could look at him, but do you really want to play him? I mean, last week, 2 targets, 2 catches for 66. I mean, if he's not catching it the week before that, 4 catches for 62, 5 for 36 the week before that. I mean, Is this a guy you just want to put out there to hopefully to get you 10 points? I mean, if you're trying to get your Super Bowl, you want a little more than that, don't you?
I agree, John. And the other issue with this is we're starting to see Naylor. Like out of nowhere, receiver 3 starting to come through on this particular team, and he's been showing out really well. And so for me, John, I think you bring up an interesting point. I would look elsewhere.
I'm sitting Addison, man.
Yeah.
Because you don't know which J.J. McCarthy are we going to get this
Totally.
week. Yeah, the secondary you can throw on with the New York Giants, but their
front
four
is scary.
Very good. So
yeah.
And this could be one of those basement games with J.J. McCarthy. It's J.J. is really all I'm trusting on that passing offense. Yeah. All right, let's keep going here, baby. Let's get to, we got an NFC South showdown. This is actually a very important game.
Huge game.
It is for these teams. Buccaneers at Panthers. Buccaneers favored by 3 on the road. Very interesting. 45.5 point over under. Where are you going here, man?
Guys, I'm going to start with Tampa Bay. You're firing up Baker. I think, like, whatever. You're firing up Baker, firing up Bucky. That's guaranteed. Guys, here's the call out. You're going to fire up all 3 receivers for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you get a piece of Mike Evans, guess what? He's back. He is back.
He's back.
So you are firing up Mike Evans. I'm firing up Chris Godwin. They're targeting him in the red zone. And then look at Emeka Egbuka. I mean, at any given point in time, he's actually, in my opinion, the one that I have circled that he's probably the most status quo. Like, you're probably going to get 6 to 8 points from a floor standpoint for Egbuka. And Godwin has a little bit more volatility there. Like, you could see Godwin with, 5 points, or you could see Godwin with 12. But for me, man, it doesn't matter. I'm firing up all 3 of those cats for this particular week. And then you look at the Panthers. Guys, for me, it's Rico Dowdle and it's Teteroa McMillan. And if you need a quarterback, you could look to Bryce Young. He's been very accurate as of late, and he's been looking really solid with this team. Again, these 2 teams right now are playing for the NFC South. This is it. This is one of the biggest matchups for these guys. Winner right now, winner of this game is leading that particular division. So for me, man, I think Bryce Young is going to be able to show out against the Tampa Bay defense. So you could look to fire him up as well.
All right, let's go to the next game here. We've got the Jaguars at the Broncos. Another good game here, man. Both of these teams are sneaky good. Not super flashy, but sneaky good. Broncos favored by 3 points at home, 45.5 point over under. Interesting, man. I thought the Broncos may be favored by a little bit more than that, at home especially. Talk about this game, man.
Guys, I mean, from the Jaguars' perspective, welcome back Brian Thomas Jr. It's good to see you. It's good to see you.
There you go.
And this is a guy, listen, you're probably going to start him if he's on your team. There's a lot of risk. I'm not going to lie to you. There is certainly risk here, but it looks like Jacoby Myers has actually set the tone for receiver 1, which is opening up BTJ a bit. And so this is really cool to see. So for me, you're firing up both of those receivers. You're firing up Trevor Lawrence, especially after that, 50-some point game, 6 touchdowns. Hell of a game. Josh Allen-esque. You know what I mean? But here's the one call out. I personally have been really high on Brenton Strange, over the last few weeks. He's significantly underperformed. I am actually going to sit Brendan Strange this particular week against his star-studded Broncos defense.
Yeah. And like we said in the news, guys, we're starting Travis Etienne. He's been an absolute monster, and now Basil Tutin's not going to play in this game. It's going to be slow going. They're not going to be able to establish the run. I can tell you that right now. But Etienne is in on all downs, and he is going to be involved in the passing game. No question about it. Especially with these tough cornerbacks for the Denver Broncos. Yeah.
And then, John, for the Broncos as a whole, speaking of them, like, you're firing up RJ Harvey. He's looking really good. As long as he's healthy, you're firing him up. You're going to fire up Cortland Sutton. He's back. Welcome. And then, if you need a boom bust, again, talking about it, you could look at Troy Franklin. We saw him explode again this past week. After the bye week, though, there was a few weeks, man, to where we saw like it being Pat Bryant, Marvin Mims, Evan Ingram, and they went away from Franklin. This past week, they embraced him. So, if you need a high flyer kind of guy, you're throwing a dart, at the board here, it could be Troy Franklin.
And don't make the mistake I made last week, guys. Start Bo Nix this week. Yeah, absolutely. All right, next game here, we've got the Falcons at the Cardinals. Falcons favored here on the road by 2.5 points, 47.5 point over under. Where are we going in this game, Frank?
Guys, looking at the Falcons, you are going to start Drake London if he plays. This is a smash start. And even if he doesn't play or if he does play, you got to start Kyle Pitts. Guys, you got him. Sorry, John. I know it sucks. 47-point game in FPPR last week. That's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. Or full-point PPR, excuse me. But still ridiculous, man. And then, from in your, of course, Bijan, if you need to go with Tyler Algier because of injuries, you potentially could. I wouldn't. I might look for a little bit more upside, but, he does have over 7 touchdowns on the year, so he's certainly viable. And then you look at the Cardinals. Guys, Jacoby Brissett, if you need a quarterback, could be amazing. Amazing this week. And then you look at Marvin Harrison Jr. We talked about him being out. Guess what? You're firing up Michael Wilson.
You have to.
Sickening. It's so gross. But he's dominating. And so it's going to be a Michael Wilson show. And then, of course, Trey McBride. And other than that, we talked about the running backs. You could look to Michael Carter. You could look to DeMercado. To your point, I would rather have them rostered to see how this kind of plays out. But I probably wouldn't look to start either of these guys for your semi.
Not unless you have to.
Not unless you have to.
Steelers at Lions here. Lions are favored at home indoors by 7 points. 49.5 point over under. There's going to be some scoring in this game, Frankie.
Going to be some scoring.
Yeah, I think the question in this game is who are we not starting for the Steelers and Lions?
It's a really good point, John. I think the only people we're not starting is really the receiver 2 and down. So Calvin Austin, etc. Guys, you're firing up Jaylen Warren. You're firing up Kenneth Gainwell. I want to pause there. You're firing up Kenneth Gainwell. He has carved out a role, and it's a big one for this team. So really, you're firing up all those guys, including DK, etc. For the rest, you're setting to the side.
What about any tight end options for the Steelers? Do you like any of those guys this week against the Lions?
It's roulette. One week it could be Darnell Washington. The next it could be Jonnu Smith. And then the next it could be Pat Freiermuth. For me, I'm not starting any of them.
Yeah, much better options. What about the Lions here? Who are we not starting for the Lions? Anybody?
Honestly, dude, I'm firing up everybody. I mean, literally, I don't know.
With Laporta out, you got to start J-Mo.
You got to start J-Mo.
Yeah. What about David Montgomery? Is this a guy you're putting in here?
I'm starting his ass, man. I mean, we even called this last week. We said David Montgomery is not a super great start because he has to get a touchdown. And what did he have? He had, a few rushes and 30 yards, and then he got a touchdown. So outside of that touchdown, man, it wasn't looking good for him. This week, I see them really relying on that 1-2 punch.
Probably without TJ Watt as well. How about that? Dry needling, needle in the lungs, punctured lung. Now, I've done dry needling. I do it from time to time. My brother-in-law and sister are chiropractors. They do dry needling as well. I can't even believe that this happened.
How the hell does that
First of all, I didn't know that was even possible. If you've ever done dry needling, they're like hairs. It's the size of a hair. So the fact that even could go in and hit his lung, it's crazy. And I'm talking to them. I'm like, guys, how does this happen? And they said that is the first thing they teach you when you're doing dry needling. When you're in this area, you do not get near the lungs. TJ Watt, punctured lung. I mean, collapsed lung because of it,
Crazy, man. I mean, that makes me think of too, Tyrod Taylor. When Baker Mayfield went in that particular game, we were there, by the way.
Yep.
And it just reminds me of that particular game. I mean, dude, that is wild. TJ Watt, get healthy, man.
Somebody got fired after that one.
Somebody's getting fired.
But my point is that the Detroit Lions are going up a defense without TJ Watt.
It's a big difference.
They're going to have a lot of time to throw, and those lanes are going to be much more open for the running backs. So, going to be some scoring here, guys. All right, let's move on here. We've got the Raiders at the Texans. The Texans have been surprising, man.
Super.
You want to talk about a team that has really come on over the past 5-6 weeks here, man. Texans are favored at home by 14.5 points. Holy shit. That hasn't happened all season long, I promise you. All right, so this defense, man, it is by far the best defense in the league. They've just been absolutely crushing teams here, man. You got the Raiders coming in town. Yuck. Okay, what are we doing here, dude? 37.5 point over-under, by the way, so very low scoring as far as Vegas is concerned.
People are going to hate me, John. People are going to hate me saying this, but there's a very low likelihood you're in the semis if you have this player. I'm sitting Ashton Genty. I don't think there's any way that you can confidently say,
I agree.
I'm willing to put him out there. Guys, this Houston team is shutting down everybody. Everybody. Like, this isn't just, it's not a fluke thing. They are so dominant. I don't think I've ever seen anything like this in years.
And so, not only that, almost everyone has already shut down Ashton Genty.
Yes, correct.
So, I mean, just look at you don't have to look years back to see, patterns here. This is just the past 10 weeks. Look at it.
Do you feel good with Pickett? You're telling me
absolutely
Pickett's
not
sgoing you or Geno Smith at this point?
No, they're going to stack that box.
Dude,
yeah.
It's going to be bad. So for me, man, I'm going on record. I'm sitting Ashton Genty here. And you know what? There's really nobody else I'm starting outside of Brock Bowers. Nobody. Zero.
Agreed.
Zero. And then you look at the Texans, guys, this is really interesting because there's only 2 guys I'm starting. And it's really Nico Collins and Dalton Schultz. Guys, I don't know if you can fully trust Jaden Higgins. I don't know if you can fully trust Woody Marks because sure, he came in and looked good. He's been getting hurt the last 3 weeks. They had to go forward with Chubb and Dare Agumbawale. So for me, man, like, again, looking at the landscape and re-injury risk, I don't think I'm starting Woody Marks just in case. So therefore, I would really look to then Dalton Schultz and Nico Collins. You could say, hey, I want to roll out Stroud. Okay, fine. But Stroud has a very low floor as well. Just keep that in mind. So, but I don't think that would be the case against the Raiders defense, but Max Crosby could have one of those games. Who knows?
I'm going to go out on a limb, man, and I'm going to say start CJ Stroud.
Okay.
If you're the Patrick Mahomes owner and you don't have another quarterback, I think you can pick up CJ Stroud. I mean, just look, he's come on the past couple of weeks here, and especially last week.
Last week was great.
Which, again, wasn't against a good defense, but he's playing a worse defense with the Vegas Raiders this week. But last week, I mean, we're talking 260 and 3 touchdowns out of CJ Stroud.
Amazing.
So if you're feeling that confident about Dalton Schultz, which I am too, and Nico Collins, which I am as well, CJ Stroud's going to have a couple of tutties on there, man. So I do think you can start him. Almost 30 points in fantasy last week for Stroud. So, yeah, let's go. All right, next game here, baby. Let's go. Patriots at Ravens. This one shocks me, too. I think Vegas is trying to fuck with us a little bit this week, Frank.
Right.
Ravens are favored by 2.5 at home against the Patriots. Makes sense out of that one. 48.5 point over-under.
Okay, so that's a fairly high over-under. I mean, that's not low, man. I mean, so they're expecting some points. I mean, we saw the Buffalo Bills in New England just have, a 65?
Awesome.
A 65 over? I mean, so for me, man, here's what I look at. The Ravens, the reason that they're minus 2.5 right now is because the Ravens need to win in order to get into the playoff. It is every game here on out is a playoff game to them. And so they need to win this. The Patriots, they're warm and cozy. They're 11-3. They're sitting there, but they're also vying for the number 1 seed against that of the Denver Broncos and potentially the Buffalo Bills, depending on what happens there. But this is going to be interesting. For me, man, looking at the Patriots, you're firing up Stephon Diggs. I know he had a really tough week this past week. You know, there's a lot of emotion that goes into playing against his former team. I think it's a bounce back week. So I like Stephon Diggs and I love Trevion. And then, of course, Drake May. And then you can look to Hunter Henry as well. For the Ravens standpoint, man, this is where it gets a little goofy because I am going to start Derrick Henry, even though this is not a super great Derrick Henry matchup. I want to be crystal clear on that. But you're going to fire him up. You can fire up Mark Andrews against this particular team and or Isaiah Likely. I'm leaning Mark Andrews over Likely, but you could see one of those guys pop. And then, of course, Zay Flowers and Lamar.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely had a big goose egg this past week, guys.
Big goose egg.
Yeah, we said there were some possibilities there. I liked him. I actually started him in that 5-flex league, but yeah, big goose egg, guys. So, trying to get in your Super Bowl, I'm not risking that at this point, for sure. Yeah. All right, let's get to the last game here, Frankie. Monday Night Football, the 49ers at the Colts. Phillip Rivers, baby. Let's go. Old man Rivers. We got to see him throw a tutty.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
I felt like one of his kids. I just felt like a proud son. Like, oh, Dad, good job, Dad. Yeah. Fun fact, Phillip Rivers was a freshman when I was a senior in high school. That's how old that son bitch is. Yeah.
So you could have been out there pretty much throwing that ball.
Yeah, okay. Sure. Yeah, I'd probably, no way. Okay. 49ers favored on the road by 5.5 here. Very interesting. 46.5 point over under. What are we doing with these two teams, man?
Guys,
Things have changed.
San Francisco, for me, this is really easy. Of course, you're firing up the given CMC, Kittle, and then I would also throw Brock Purdy in that. If you have Purdy, you're firing him up. For me, though, man, I think that Juwan Jennings is a must start. I just believe with Ricky Pearsall being hurt again, really the other receivers outside of Demarcus Robinson here and there, it's been Juwan Jennings. Fire up Juwan Jennings this particular week. And then you look at the Colts. This is finally a good matchup for Jonathan Taylor. I could see him finally breaking loose again. And if you had him like I've had him, he completely screwed you over the last 3 weeks because he just didn't hit that ceiling play. He was very middle tier. And so you got to roll with him, obviously. And then this week, man, for the receivers, John, it's really hard to trust any of them. Like, I'll actually pose this back to you. Knowing that Michael Pittman had a very rough game, knowing that Alec Pierce had a very rough game, Josh Downs was the one who scored the touchdown, and Tyler Warren literally had a rough game. I mean, Phillip Rivers threw for a total of 120 passing yards. Can you start any of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you can start Tyler Warren. I think you have to. But when it comes to the receivers, you're talking about Josh Downs and you're talking about Alec Pierce. These are lottery ticket guys. I know Josh Downs got a touchdown last week. But, man, these are lottery ticket guys. You really can't bank on any of that happening. Now, I will say that I do think you can start Michael Pittman because Rivers likes to zone in on a guy if he can, and he likes the one, so he likes Michael Pittman. 5 targets, 26 yards. I know that wasn't great, but that was at Seattle, guys. This is a much different game. Totally. Being at home, indoors against San Francisco, which is a very vulnerable secondary. I'm going to start Pittman and Warren, and I'm going to leave the rest of the guys on my bench.
Nice.
Yeah. All right, that is the full slate here, Frank. Now, let's get to a couple things here, guys. Bonus we need to talk about with you before we end. Like we always talk about, in your playoffs, get a week ahead of your waiver wire. So we're going to look at a couple of streams here for quarterback, tight ends, and defenses that you should be picking up this week on your waiver wire, assuming you're getting to your Super Bowl next week, guys. You can't wait till the week of in your Super Bowl to pick guys up. Frankie, roll us out some QBs that you can stream. This is for week 17 for your Super Bowl. What are some good matchup guys here?
For week 17, there's 4 quarterbacks I want you guys to look at, whether it's deep leagues or whether it's shallow leagues. These are the ones you have circled. Number 1, Jacoby Brissett at Cincinnati. Smash start. He has unlocked Trey McBride. Smash start. Number 2, Baker Mayfield at Miami. Listen, for 8 and 10 team leagues, Baker actually might be sitting there. And so pick him up against the Miami team in the hot weather. This is a great situation. Number 3, in a super flex league, this is where I have this guy circled, Mariota, against that of Dallas. Dallas is very vulnerable right now, and Trevion Diggs is not playing well and hasn't really been even playing, and Bland has been banged up here and there. So for me, Dallas secondary is vulnerable. Mariota can really get it done on the ground as well. And then lastly, guys, Brock Purdy. In shallow leagues, in 8 to 10 team leagues, he still might be sitting there. Pick him up against that of Chicago.
All right, what about some tight ends now we're talking about streaming for you, Frank?
Yep, so week 17, right? Week 17 here, tight ends. Theo Johnson at Vegas. Love that opportunity in the high side. Juwan Johnson for the New Orleans Saints at Tennessee. Totally great start. A.J. Barner at Carolina. Now, this one's not as good as the others, but certainly a part of this offense for Seattle Seahawks. This would probably be my 1 and 2, though, coming up. Darren Waller versus Tampa Bay. Got to fire him up. Got to get him on the roster. And Colby Parkinson at Atlanta should carry some serious weight.
Oh, yeah. We've talked about Colby Parkinson
quite a bit.
Lot this week, yeah. All right, let's look at some defenses. I know it's rough. The matchups are kind of weird next week,
Real
man.
weird.
Yeah, so for week 17 for your Super Bowl, what are some good streaming defenses?
So, guys, you could look at Giants D. That front 4 is nasty at Vegas. Again, so it's going to be pretty interesting to see how that really works out. You got New Orleans Saints at Tennessee. That sounds really good. And then you got the Cleveland Browns versus Pittsburgh. Anything can happen in a divisional game where there's a ton of emotion. Myles Garrett searching for that sack record. So, right, anything can happen. And then Dallas, right? As much as I just talked about Dallas's defense being poor, look at him against that of Washington, though, guys. Like, again, I talked about Mariota, but look at the other flip side. I mean, they got Quinnen Williams and stuff like that. So they're looking to shut down that running attack. So you could look at Dallas for a streaming option.
It's tough because the NFL has scheduled the Week 17 games.
They're
They're
brutal.
all divisional matchups,
Yes.
which is brutal because those games are very difficult to predict and they know each other so well.
Yes.
So, your typical game plan isn't necessarily what you're going to see. So hard to predict, guys. Definitely. All right, that is the show for the day, guys. Congratulations. If you're still listening, that means you're
Let's go.
trying to get to your Super Bowl. You're in your second round of your playoffs. You're ready to go. Thank you for joining us, guys. Please don't forget to follow us on YouTube. Watch the videos. I know a lot of you listen to us on podcast. Watch the videos. We appreciate it. It's Frankly Fantasy Football. Frankie, we talked a lot this episode about Fridays with Frankie. How do people get Fridays with Frankie?
Guys, check out Fridays with Frankie. It's going to be on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. And what it is I look at all of the different starts. I look at who has been injured and are they going to be in? How has the practicing been? Things like that. And I give you the top 5 things that you need to know for your weekend. And nothing more important than getting you past the semis and into the championship. So again, check it out. That drops on Friday. It will be coming hot and heavy to you. And John, one other call out too is that, guys, after this particular week, we're certainly going to do a Super Bowl week. But what we're also going to do is we're going to start breaking down the fantasy season. We're going to drop the quarterback leaders, the running back leaders, the receivers, tight ends, etc. And then we're going to put it in a bow, a pretty bow at the end. And we're going to actually talk about what to look for in your 2026 drafts. It's crazy. It's crazy that we're even talking about that. But guys, we're fantasy freaks. We're going to make sure you're set up heading into the offseason.
I love it, man. All right. Well, good luck to you, Frank. I am just an observer this week, and I'm just going to be watching the games. I got nothing else on. My watch has ended. But we're all rooting for you, buddy. So let's get in that Super Bowl. Let's go. May the fantasy gods smile upon you. Bye.